Okay, so Gatorade strategy when it comes to sports partnerships, we're really athlete focused, and it's really about that point of sweat for us. It's how do we make sure that Gatorade is in the hands of the athletes when they're performing their best. And so when we look at partnerships, it's about those leagues, those teams, those individual athletes that are most interested in performing at their peak and thinking that sport fuel can make a difference. And so that's where we love to play a role, and what we found is our best partnership is actually being there, being active, and contributing to that success. I think a lot of it is dialogue. I think a lot of it is understanding one another's philosophies. I think if it's as simple as a sponsorship transaction, it's not going to last, and you're not going to have a mutual beneficial relationship. So for me, it's really about getting to know the partners really, really well, getting to understand what their interests are, how they want to grow, where they think they can develop, and then how do we come up with a strategy to help each other. And if that strategy is sound, then I think it's going to be super successful. I think it totally varies. I think there are some that, yeah, you want to do it over the long haul and kind of grow and grow and grow. There are some that you see those benefits right away. I think it's unfortunate when you do a sponsorship and you're kind of one and done. You go in and get back out. Unless there's a real reason as to why you would do that, stay in it. Like, grow with each other. You know, help each other get better at what they do. And I think as long as you enter the right partnerships, that's a no-brainer. Yeah, I mean, I'll use kind of where we started. We started at the University of Florida, and a professor there, a doctor, created Gatorade based on the needs of the football team. That's a partnership that we have had extremely close ties with since, and we turned 50 last year, and we had a huge ceremony down at the University of Florida their football team gets early innovation before anybody else. We do a lot of athlete testing with their football team. Their whole athletics department is basically an extension of the Gatorade team. It's something that continues to help us because we learn a lot about athletes in the field of play and what they're utilizing, and they get the benefits of having Gatorade come in and really want to learn from their athletes and give them everything we possibly can. Yeah, you know, I think a lot of so when we look at partnerships, some of the challenges that we have are really based more on is the whole club or team or league involved, and what I mean by that is if the sponsorship or sales folks are feeling one thing, but the training staffs and the doctors and the fitness kind of folks that are running the athlete day to day are feeling something different, that's a big disconnect for us. And so we'll have a preliminary conversation with a league or a team or an athlete and say, you know, is this the right fit? And then we'll quickly turn to, all right, you guys are in the locker room every single day. You guys are the ones that are mandating what happens with the athletes. Are you on board? Do you want to learn more about the Gatorade Sports Science Institute? How do we help each other get better? And if that's a fit and the sponsorship's a fit, let's do it. If it's not, it doesn't make sense for us. It's a great question. I think as you know, athletes move so fast, and the differences between what athletes can do now and what they could do 10 years ago is amazing. Never mind what they could do 40 years ago. And so we've got to continue to innovate at the speed of sport by making sure that we're getting ahead of what athletes might need and how their bodies are changing. So we've got a really robust innovation team. We've got a really robust kind of athlete knowledge team, the folks that are engaging with athletes on a daily basis, learning from them, having them give us direct feedback, testing products, putting stuff in the locker room way before it ever hits a shelf of a store, and really learning from the feedback and then putting out the best products we possibly can. Yeah, it comes into play a lot because you've got to understand, so technology, there's so much technology readily available now that athletes are way past the point of, if you tell me it's good, I'll use it. They want to see for themselves. They want to understand the results. Was I able to play further into the game? Was my energy levels at the same peak as it was when I started as it was when I ended? How do I understand how carbs will impact? Is there a dip in how those carbs relate to what my body needs? So there's so much data, so much technology involved in it, and that's awesome. That's exactly what we need to continue to make ourselves better, but it's also great for the athletes to understand this stuff really works. I think there's a whole host of ways that we measure it. A lot of it is athlete education, athlete feedback, key performance indicators like Do I see it with my favorite athletes? Do I understand how it's best used? Is it a brand for me based on where it's utilized with athletes? Obviously, sales data makes a big difference for us, but really it goes back to, do athletes perceive us as the optimal sport fuel solution based on what they're seeing and how they're understanding athletes' usage? Multi-territory partnership. Yeah, there's certainly opportunities with multi-territorial partnerships that, how somebody, we were just, Arsenal is a great example. The opportunity to talk about Arsenal in parts of the UK is amazing. How do you bring that story here to the US? How do you bring it to China? How are you capitalizing on different fan kind of perspectives throughout the world that better understand the Arsenal story? And it's not just, hey, we're a partner with Arsenal, but do you know what we do to fuel these 5 players on the Arsenal squad? And how can we then take that to help you, this China football club or this China football enthusiast who says, I want to engage in that too? And so, yeah, it's different stories based on what we're trying to tell and based on the opportunity for Gatorade within those regions. But the best partnerships are the ones that allow us to tell a multifaceted story. And so that's what we look for.